I just got back from spending 5 days in Katmai National Park, and I want to share with you how I go through and cull my wildlife photos. Now, over those 5 days, I took about 10,000 photos. Is that excessive? Probably, but I still think it's worth it. And if you have ever had to go through all of your wildlife photos, you know it can be a process. So I'm going to show you how I organize my photos and then how I cull the photos before I import into Lightroom. And doing all this before is the key to all of this, because trying to do this in Lightroom takes forever. Lightroom is a slow software compared to other software that's out there that makes this way more simple. So right when I get home, I plug in my SSD into my computer, which I have a Samsung T7 Shield, and then I start creating folders for every single day of the trip. So in this case, I have 5 folders. And for each folder, if I'm using multiple cameras, I then go in and I label a folder for each camera as well. I then go ahead and I label all the photos from that day from that specific camera with the date, the location, and the camera. So in this instance, the date, Katmai, day 1, on my A1. And I go through that same process for every single folder. That way it is all organized. Now I also have this set up that when my SSD is plugged into my computer, it is automatically backing up into my Synology NAS. And I have that as a temporary folder on the NAS because I then later transfer all of these folders once the photos are culled into a separate area that's fully backed up. But at least in this instance, if my SSD was to ever fail, then I have all of these photos still backed up somewhere. Now, the next step here is to download software that allows you to open up raw files and take a look at them and to separate each file into a keep folder and a reject folder. For me, I use FastRawViewer, which is available on both Windows and Mac, and I believe Mac also has some other software as well. I'm a Windows guy, so this has been the best software that I have found for this process for Windows. Once you open up FastRawViewer, then you have just a simple screen like this. I will then go in and take one of my folders from one of my cameras on day 1, and I drag and drop it into the raw viewer. And as you can see, now it populates up with all the photos from that day and folder. So within FastRawViewer, you can customize your keyboard shortcuts or a Stream Deck, or what I use is a Sense Labs quick keys. So you can set the buttons that will be easy for you to hit as a keep or a reject. So you go into File and Customize and Keyboard Shortcuts. Within here, you go to File, Copy, Move, Reject. You can set what keys you want to use to move current file to selected subfolder or move current file to rejected subfolder. And then you hit OK. Now, what's really cool about this software is it gives you a full image, and then with your mouse you can click in, and it's very quick, so you can see if things are sharp or not, if it's something that you want to keep or not. So let's say I want to keep this photo. I just hit the shortcut to keep, and it automatically moved that file into the keep folder. So I would go through and keep whatever I want to keep. And then maybe this one I want to reject. So if I hit reject, now you can see if I go into the folder for the day that I'm working on and I click on it, I have a selected folder and a rejected folder. The selected folder has all the selects that I have. Rejected has all the rejects that I have. Now for me, storage is pretty cheap overall, so I never delete any photos, but I do like to separate them, and in Lightroom, I'll pull in all the selects that I want to, which one will keep Lightroom lighter so it should work faster, while simultaneously you never lose any photos. So now you would go through the entire folder and do your selects and rejects, and then you would take that select folder and import that into Lightroom. If you accidentally rejected or selected a photo you don't want, you can always do the standard Control-Z or an undo button to get that image back too. So just because it moves it to a folder does not mean that it is stuck there. You can always move it back within the same software here. Now I'm telling you, this is so much faster than trying to do this in Lightroom. This for 10,000 photos will probably take me a couple hours, but if I was to do that in Lightroom, it'd be a day, couple days, because Lightroom just bogs down so much and it becomes a giant pain. So I highly recommend getting software. This is free, by the way. That makes this whole process easier, because I know when I'm heading home, the last thing I want to do is spend so much time trying to go through all my photos. But if the process is faster for you, then it'll be less of a hassle and you won't be bummed when you shoot that much when you're out playing around with wildlife. Okay, let's go through this culling process in real time here. So I have all these images and I can take a look with my mouse. I can see if I want to keep it or if I like the shot in any way. You can move the image around and look at different angles. You can also adjust what your zoom level is, but I like this to look for sharpness. So if I want to keep that, boom, and then it immediately goes to the next image. So if I'm going through this quick, I'm just looking at the entire composure and whether I want to keep it or not. So I just start making my way through. It's pretty simple. You're just looking for whatever it is that you want to see out of these photos and make quick decisions on what you want to take into Lightroom later and look deeper at. And as you can see, you can get through images pretty quickly this way. And it's nice because down here it tells you how many are left. So you can kind of judge, okay, over X number of minutes, I've been able to cull hundreds of photos, thousands, whatever your number is, depending on how fast you can get through this. So I hope this video was helpful. If it is, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next video.